Hey y'all, trying to get some plastic lifted this morning, and I feel like I'm taking up a concrete sidewalk, making a heck of a mess, just busting up daggum hunks of rock hard dirt. I hope that this is going to be the worst of it. This is strawberry plastic. You can tell it's recycled strawberry plastic. Strawberry plastic don't never come up good because it's been laid for over a year and it's all to pieces anyway, and the ground's had that long to lay there and get packed by rain. Anytime you got land that you're working, it's just a recipe for compaction. So it's always a train wreck. So hopefully, if I can get through this will be the worst of it. I ain't bush hogged this yet. I learned several years back, you've got to bush hog your plastic before you try to lift it. If you don't, you're creating a nightmare for yourself and for your employees trying to pick it up. Ideally, you want to bush hog it, spray it with gramoxone, let it turn to where it's basically powder, and then lift your plastic. But sometimes we don't have that option. We're really in go mode right now. It seems like it never really stops. Sometimes that gets a little old, but it is what it is. Plastic lifter, this is a old Reddick plastic lifter, and I've got about 800 pounds of weight on the back of it, and I am still struggling to get it to go in the ground. It's going, but it's going slow, and as long as I can see this, I'm in good shape. When it gets aggravating is when it starts riding up. Get it in the ground good, and then you hit a rock and bounce it up, and then it starts cutting the top of the bed off and leaving a little strip of plastic all the way down the side. That's when it really gets aggravating. But watering's not an option because we got this manifolds have been off of this for a long time, and it'd take forever to come back through and hook water back up to it so that I could run drip for days to get these beds wet enough to make it easier to lift plastic, and it's just not worth doing that. But I have a little bit of plastic here that's not been bush hogged, or that didn't have anything on it to be bush hogged. I'm doing a balancing act right now, trying to keep up with my guys. They are like Energizer bunnies because they are I think they're in a higher gear than normal because they are really ready to go home and see their families, and I don't blame them. It's kind of bittersweet for us because they're like family. My 3-year-old actually sits and eats lunch with them every single day. She's going to be heartbroken when they leave, but they have been away from their families in Mexico for 7 months, and their work visas are only good for so long, so they are ready. And we unfortunately can't afford to pay them year-round when there's not money coming in anyway. So yep, it's about that time, but we are the only thing standing between them and a bus ride south is getting all this plastic up. So they are going wide open over here, getting tomato sticks out of our late tomato crop so that I can bush hog it, and I don't want to hook and unhook all day, so I'm lifting this. Everything I can, I'm getting lifted so that they've got something to do while I unhook this, hook to the bush hog this, and hook back to this so I can lift the rest of the plastic. Did y'all get all that? All right, let's get on with it. So y'all can see here the difference between bush hogged and unbush hogged plastic and how much easier it is to work with. when you, especially in vining crops. Now ideally, if I had time, I'd love to spray this with Gramoxone and wait a week, come back, because all these vines would be nice and crunchy and they wouldn't drag up as bad. But just going from this to this makes a world of difference. And you can see there's still a lot of pumpkins out here. There's a whole lot of tomatoes laying out yonder. But I get asked on occasion, why is there so much stuff left in the field? That seems like a lot of waste. It definitely is, and it's unfortunate. But the reality is, in the produce world, if you don't have too much, you will not have enough. And I would rather have a little bit of waste left in the field than to run out and dang, I could have sold more. Also, the other side of that is labor is one of the most expensive parts of this whole operation. So if we don't have a market, we just don't pick it, we leave it in the field. That don't happen often. It did on the pumpkins this year. We didn't have a lot of pumpkins, but it's a good thing because there wasn't a lot of market for pumpkins. Everybody seems like they're tightening up, not spending money like they were. But a lot of tomatoes hit the ground just because the quality issues. We can't afford to handle them multiple times when they're not good enough to start with. So when the guys are picking tomatoes, if it ain't good enough, they throw it down. I mean, we have a good canner market for number 2s, and we sell a lot of number 2s, but most of what's laying on the ground up here in the tomatoes is not even a number 2 grade. And we have done some, worked with some people in the past on some gleaning, but there again, it takes time to get that kind of stuff lined up, and I love to donate some stuff when I can, but sometimes it's just not always feasible. Well, I got all the way done lifting plastic, or so I thought, and unhooked the lifter, which is really aggravating to hook back up, and was riding back by the field and realized that I had missed one row of plastic. So now I'm hooking this jewel back up. Well, that went surprisingly well. It's because we've been watering strawberries right here, and so there's been a little bit of residual water getting over here on this one row of plastic, unlike the rest of it, which has been like cement. This actually came up pretty good. It's not going to pick up very good because the guys are going to have to fight all this grass. I did spray it and kill it a while back, or sprayed it with Liberty a while back, but it's hard to, eventually the grass will come back most of the time unless all the stars align. But they've got everything else picked up in piles everywhere. Maybe a half a dump truck load left that we got to load up and hopefully get hauled to the landfill before they close. And I'm sure I'll get some questions about the biodegradable mulch, and I am aware of it. I know that it exists. I've talked to a lot of people that have used it, and I've never heard anything good about it. I've heard that it's really difficult to lay. It tears constantly, and it really don't last long enough to get a crop off. Certainly it wouldn't last long enough for strawberries, but we really don't use all that much plastic, believe it or not. See, with all these piles that they've got out across here, that will pack down to less than half my dump truck full probably. And If you can keep it dry, there's a lot of water weight issues. If you let it get rained on, you're gonna cost yourself a lot of money when you haul it to the landfill. But if you can get it clean and dry with no debris in it and not been rained on, we probably don't use about a ton of plastic a year. So it's really not that big a deal to pick it up and haul it off normally. But yeah, I appreciate y'all watching. Let me know if you got any questions, drop them in the comments. If you enjoy the video, I'd appreciate you hitting that like button. I'll see you next time.